Hello and welcome back to Chapter 7, Supporting Your Ideas. We've just talked about research. Now we're going to be jumping into support. Again, research and support are distinct. Research is collecting all that information, and then now we are going to transform that into support. Now, first, what is support? Support is what's going to end up supporting our ideas. What are our ideas? They are our thesis, our main point, our subpoints. We're going to discuss this more in the organization section, but right now those are single declarative ideas that categorize our topic. For example, if I'm talking about how the challenges African elephants have to face in the wild, that is my topic. My three main points could potentially be, oh, I don't know, poaching, uh, loss of habitat, and loss of food sources. Then, within that main point, let's say this main point is my poaching. Keep in mind that these are simple ideas that categorize my entire topic. Let's say my first main point is poaching. Then my subpoints would be how poachers poach African elephants, why they poach African elephants, and then what are some of the things that people are doing to solve this problem. So, have I given any information on this topic? No, I have given zero information. I have simply categorized and made clear what my topic is going to be. And then, when I have this, how are people poaching African elephants, I then support them with the support. Support can be examples, statistics, and testimonial. These are the big three types of support. My first support, maybe an example of one specific tactic that people use to hunt these elephants. A statistic, how many elephants are killed every year. And then my testimonial could be an expert stating, or maybe a layperson saying, uh, uh, for example, someone who was a poacher but now is not, talking about how they do that. So the beauty of support is that support is unquestionable. It is unquestionable. No matter what I think about the topic, this example exists out there in the world. No matter what I think about the topic, this person said this thing. No matter what I think about the topic, this statistic has been shown by a relevant and credible source. That is why we use support to support our ideas. So, let's talk about the big three. The big three supports are going to be testimonial, examples, and statistics. These stand alone. And people can no longer say that I am biased, I don't know what I'm talking about, because no matter what I think about the topic, again, this person said this example happened, this statistic has been shown. First, we talk about testimony. There are three basic types of testimony. There's personal testimony. This is your perspective on it. This is one of the weaker types of testimony, but it can still be very useful because it provides relevance of this specific topic. And if you have been affected by this issue or this topic, then and the audience is identifying with you, then they can see themselves being affected by this topic in the future. So personal testimony can be good, but it's not as supportive as the other two, which are lay testimony and expert testimony. Lay testimony is someone's perspective, opinion, what they saw. This is maybe during a hurricane, the person who's the hurricane affected. Or a great example of lay testimony is the Diary of Anne Frank, that we were able to get a much greater perspective on a horrific part of human experience through the lay testimony of someone who went through it. You could also have lay testimony from, let's say, a Black Lives Matter protester, that their perspective on these things. We can also take it into a court where a someone may if someone is defending themselves, they may give personal testimony. If someone gives lay testimony, maybe their perspective on the defendant. And we also have expert testimony. And expert testimony is predicting or somehow proving that something is true or false. This is experts. In a court setting, it would be maybe a blood spatter expert or a psychologist of some kind. In a meteorologist or a weather situation, it might be the actual meteorologist showing or predicting what will happen in the next few days in the weather. This could be an economist talking about, yes, here's the price of Tesla right now, but it could potentially have a downward trend. So that expert testimony is very useful as well, but we need all three to have a fully well-rounded speech, and each type of testimony offers different insights into our topic. We also have examples. Examples can be factual or brief, extended examples, or hypothetical examples. A factual brief example, if I am talking about renewable energy sources, I may give brief specific examples. One example of some examples of renewable resources are wind, solar, and geothermal. Those are examples of particular resources. You could also be talking about developments in solar technology. You may choose a factual example of one specific solar farm that's been developed. That can provide greater insight into the topic. We also have extended examples. Extended examples would be what would be further extended. Go figure. For example, if your topic is about overcoming challenge, then you may provide the extended example of Michael Jordan, for example, that he found multiple challenges in his way and was still able to overcome them as a result. And lastly, we have hypothetical examples. And hypothetical examples don't necessarily have to be true, but do have to be understandable enough and plausible enough, otherwise it won't work. A good example of this is when someone does get broken up with, then they would obviously have some depression. So if, for example, I was talking about a experience where someone would be led into depression, I may use the example of a breakup, a hypothetical breakup, and that would, again, provide insight on the topic. And lastly, support. The last type of support is statistics and numerical data. Make sure your statistics are from a reliable source. Identify the source of the statistic, and that is incredibly important, not just for this one, but also for testimonial and even examples sometimes. Because I do not know where the information came from unless you tell me where it came from. So, if you say 80% of the money made by the lottery, it goes to government and local agencies. Where did I get that? And that my credibility is automatically called into question. So you have to cite information. The use of numbers and units should be in a way that the audience can understand. Explain and clarify your statistics, and don't use too many statistics. I will guide you to the law of diminishing returns. That if you use too many statistics, then obviously each one won't be as impactful. Putting them in units that the audience can understand. How many people are 10,000 people or 40,000 people? We don't really have something by which to measure it. So by using examples of how many people that would be more effective. Now we move on to other types of support. While these are not the big three, they can still be very useful for specific cases. Definitions are a big one, especially in complex topics, because with definitions it allows us to better understand the topic by defining specific parts of the topic. We also have visual and audio aids. These allow us to see something instead of just having to imagine it. If you are talking about the devastating impact of earthquakes, you could talk about it, you could provide examples of it, but what might be more beneficial for the audience would be a video showing it. And then we have comparing and contrasting. This can be literal or figurative. Literal could be the actual similarities between concepts that share physical and observable characteristics. What are the similarities between the Xbox and the PlayStation, or the iPhone or the Android? By literally comparing and contrasting it, then you can show what each one is like. And then we have figurative. And this is through metaphor and simile. Objects or ideas that appear to have nothing in common are compared or contrasted. So, life is but a dream. A metaphor like that can engage the audience and show, try to show something that you're trying to communicate. And then the very last one, and these ones do not and should not stand alone. These should not be unsupported. These should always have a support with them if they are ever used. This is personal experience or narration, so your own personal experience. Description, describing a scene or something, or explaining why something works. While all of these can help further develop what this thing is, this example, statistic, or testimonial, if I am just describing or just explaining or just showing my personal experience, then it doesn't serve that fundamental purpose of support, which is that outside of my perspective, example, statistics, and testimonial, they stand. Whereas outside of my experience, there is nothing outside of my experience. Personal experience is your experience. Description or explanations of how you see it are within your perspective. So that is the support. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time.